How are you doing, brothers and sisters? You doing okay out there today? I'm Michelle, and I'm going to be reading from this book, which has 101 proofs, stories to the existence of God as a reality in our lives. So, this book was written by this really wonderful person. His name is Jim Stevens. And if you look at the playlist, and then you could find his email address so that you can email him, um, uh, try to talk with him, have a word with him. It's really just a wonderful person of integrity and kindness. Okay, so I'm going to be reading today. It's the proof number 35, and it's called natural selection. So let's really review and learn more things about natural selection. Okay, here we go. The concept of natural selection, sometimes used synonymous with survival of the fittest, is often touted as the magic process that, when added to mutation, will result in advancing steps of higher and higher species and the success of evolution. But I encourage you to read up on what natural selection is all about and see that it will not lead to evolution. And he puts "not" in capital letters. Check out the examples that are given and see for yourself what a fanciful argument this is for evolution of molecules to man. Actually, you can't even start with molecules because natural selection only works on a species once it can reproduce. What they actually mean by natural selection is what we believers in God totally accept already. Just, just we call it adaptation to the environment. It's a wonderful God-given quality in nature that creatures have that allows them to better survive. But it is never a process that will give you a new species. Natural selection is also sometimes referred to as survival of the fittest. However, as a term used by scientists and evolutionists, it does not refer to what we normally think of as being fit, which means the healthiest, strongest, smartest, or fastest. For them, it actually means the ones who were reproductively fittest and left the most descendants. Wow, a lot of new information there. To rephrase the term, we could say survival of the ones that survived. Pretty unscientific, huh? Some of them even understand the problem with their logic, namely saying the same thing twice and calling it a proof. That's tautology and not proof of anything. But then they go right on with the same type of assumptions anyway. Most of us understand the concept of dog breeding or horse breeding, where we selectively try to bring out certain characteristics like speed or size or color. It's mating together certain males with certain females. This is all that natural selection claims it is doing, except it happens out in the wild without any interference from humans, which is not possible. Now, who do you think can do a better job of purposeful breeding and selection? The wilds of nature or a human in a controlled environment of matching certain males and females. Need I remind you that humans have never been able to breed a new species with all their efforts, very intelligent efforts, not mindless efforts. Over decades of trying, dogs are always dogs and horses are always horses, no matter how much we can change their features, their external features. Let's walk through a simplified example and see if this process makes any sense to you as a mechanism for evolving any new species. Let's assume there is a wild dog population where the dogs have genes for producing long-haired or short-haired descendants. Suppose also that one gene pair controls the length of hair. If a given dog has both types of genes, L and S, for long hair and short hair, then it will have medium length hair. And then I'm just letting you know that like through Jim's book, there are incredible diagrams and pictures. They're just really beautiful, just to let you know that. What happens next? The environment changes and gets much colder over time. Natural selection says the short-haired dogs will die out faster, leaving more and more long-haired dogs to reproduce. But looking at the genes, this process is not evolving toward a new or higher species. So are you guys getting this? Actually, the dog population is losing genetic diversity and DNA information, not gaining it. The gene for short hair is being lost. So, natural selection is not a process that will get you a new species at all, because the species is losing genetic information. It's going backwards from the way evolution is supposed to go. This is when evolutionist believers will fall back on mutation as the place where the new genetic information comes from. After there is mutation, then natural selection can work its magic. But we already saw in an earlier proof, chapter 27, that mutation does not work either for creating a new species. So, evolutionist believers count on two processes that demonstrably don't work at all for producing evolution separately, but when combined, somehow magically start to work. In mathematics, when two processes are combined, you multiply the odds of success of one process times the odds of success of the other. The odds will be even less likely when the two processes are combined. I remind you that 40 years of intentional and intelligent efforts to develop mutated fruit flies has never gotten anything but fruit flies, as Jim shares about in proof number 27. None of them that survived was better or more fit than the fruit flies they started off with. Not even any improvements could be mutated into the fruit flies, but evolutionist believers will still insist that millions of extremely complicated species all happened accidentally. right? They don't just believe in one very improbable accident. They believe in billions upon billions of progressive accidents, one after another, building up higher and higher levels of different species. There are millions upon millions of species on Earth: plants, animals, fish, insects, and etc. Each functioning very successfully, but with hundreds of different and very distinguishable characteristics. Another problem at issue for natural selection producing evolution is: how do you get the starting point? Natural selection only works when there is already a living organism that can reproduce. Natural selection cannot explain the first original organism. Scientists now know that the simplest of all species capable of reproduction has at least 250,000 ordered genes. Could any accidental process explain ordered genes on that magnitude? Not a chance. We God affirming believers do believe in natural selection as it is observed in nature and demonstrated in selective breeding. God designed it, and it testifies to God's design skills. The truth about the process of natural selection is that it is a conservation mechanism. Okay, let's read this again. Let's hear this. The truth about the process of natural selection is that it is a conservation mechanism that helps prevent species from going extinct by keeping harmful mutations from proliferating in a population. But as a proof for godless evolution, it fails miserably. I invite you to do an internet search for examples of natural selection, okay? An internet search for examples of natural selection. All you get are examples of adaptations that creatures have made within a species, never one species evolving into another species. And Jim has put this in capital letters. Natural selection fails as a mechanism for evolution. Molecules to man is an extraordinarily long path for evolution to try to walk, and it can't. There used to be an article on the internet by discovery.com supposedly on the 10 examples of natural selection. It got taken down. Okay. They offer different examples of so-called natural selection. There are peppered moths, colored snakes, chemical-resistant insects, Galapagos Island finches' beaks, male peacock tail feathers, a certain ability of warrior ants, deer mice changing color, and etc. And even humans getting sickle cell anemia. All they talk about is changes within a species, and they still name it evolution. Excuse me, that is not the definition of evolving. It's only selective breeding. just by waving the magic words, evolutionists claim this is the scientific proof of natural selection producing evolution. That's fraud. Dirt didn't become dinosaurs. Sorry, natural selection creating new species doesn't exist, or they would have shown it. So it's just too preposterous. This is what Jim says. I must conclude that the evolutionists don't really understand what they themselves are claiming. They don't really have any evidence of a new species. They have already decided the conclusion and are grabbing at straws to justify it. That's very poor science. And I myself must say that that's not really science at all to me. That's my own point of view. Eventually, the honest scientists will conclude, along with the rest of us, that there must be God. Yeah. So, thank you so much, Jim. That is great. A couple of pages to explain this rampant thought that is widely believed. Okay, we thank you so much. That was chapter 35 on natural selection. Okay, so we will study more at another time, and I'll see you another time. Okay, take care. Have a good day.